Alrighty, guys. Little technical difficulties, but it looks like we're up and going here. So go ahead and check in. Let me get a little bit better lighting here. There we go. All right, I'm Joe Banks, your host of Let's Talk About It Live here every Wednesday from 4 to 5. Of course, as you know, I'm running for Hennepin County Sheriff, and this show allows me to be able to reach you, the community, as well as those who have concerns about what's happening around their time. We're new on YouTube here this week, but I think we're finally starting to work out the little blotches that we have going along. And we don't know just yet what's going on with Facebook. So welcome to everybody. As we start and end our show with the backpack. So I'm going to go ahead and explain to you what that is. We ask that everybody please respect everyone's comments, of course, as you respond. So with that being said, let me say the backpack consists of making sure that when you head out the door, you have your driver's license and insurance with you in your car and above your visor, making it easy for you to access this information if stopped by law enforcement. Same thing if you're walking down the street, make sure that you have your driver's license or ID with you in case you have contact with law enforcement so that it's easily accessible. Remember to remain calm, follow the instructions of your officers, and as always, get home safe to your loved ones. My name's Joe Banks. I'm the host, and my co-host Anthijuan Beeks should be catching up to me here shortly. Looks like Anthijuan is trying to get in, and we'll be seeing him momentarily here. Let me see what's going on with Tim. Send him a quick message, and here we go. So again, everyone, let's first talk about the young kids who were shot over in Minneapolis. Of course, right now, as you know, there was still no one arrested in connection with that shooting. For those of you who forgot, of course, we know two of those young children died and one ended up with some severe trauma and is still in the process to recover. Trinity, 8 years old, and Anaya, 6 years old, were two of the children killed. And then Davion, 10 years old, is still survived and meeting therapy and some care to get back on his feet. And you have any information that could lead to the arrest or prosecution of these folks, contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477, 1-800-222-8477, or www.crimestoppers.org. Also, if you're in the Minneapolis area, you can contact the Minneapolis Violent Crime Division at 612-673-2941, 612-673-2941. So leading into our first story today, as you know, it seems like there's a lot of turmoil going around surrounding whether or not the Minneapolis Police Department is trying to, or the city of Minneapolis is trying to abolish their police department. Beeks is saying he's having some trouble getting in. So I'm not sure what's going on there, Brother Beeks. Let me try and bring you up on the book. Give me a second here. So guys, feel free to jump in. If you can't get in, let me know. If you can't get in, this is a new system, so we are making some adjustments. So this will give us a chance to kind of gauge what this is. Brother Beeks, okay. I think he's trying to let me know he can't get in here. So anyone who's trying to get in who can't get in, I apologize ahead of time because this is the new system, but don't worry, we'll get those bugs worked out. Beeks is saying I need to invite him in, so let me figure out exactly how am I to do that here. What's this button here? Edit. Let me see here. How do I invite somebody on the new system here? Okay, Beeks, so you can see me. I'm trying to. Oh wait. Okay, let me see here. What is this? I'm trying to navigate my way through this system, bro. How do I invite you, bro? How do I invite you? Let me see here. I think that one right there is a viewer. Again, guys, thank you for being patient because this is a new system and I am trying to figure out how am I inviting folks here. Participants there. Let me see here. Launcher, send feedback. Expand menu. Let me see what this does here, Beeks. Quick here. No, that's not getting us anywhere else. Beeks, how do I send you a link to get in here, bro? Let me see here. What's this? No. I see a line that says participants, but when I'm clicking on it, I'm not necessarily seeing how I bring you in there. Pop-up chats, toggle timesheet. No. Like, that customizes the emojis, bro. This is a little bit weird here. See if you can send me a request to get in, Beeks. So Beeks is working on trying to get in here. I am trying to look into it. Okay, great. I appreciate that, Beeks, because I'm trying to figure it out on my end, and I am not finding anything, brother. But anyway, guys, yeah, it looks like that Minneapolis is experiencing some issues. There was some word that was a meeting last night as some type of referendum to determine whether or not the opinion of folks on abolishing the police department. Let me try and get some info on that. Yeah, just looking in to see what was going on with that. Of course, as you know, there was a major shooting over in the St. Paul area this past week. Sounded like there was maybe 14 people shot, one young lady killed, and our heart goes out to that family. Of course, since the uptake after the George Floyd situation, there's been an uptake in violence, gun violence for sure in the inner cities. And that's something that we're all taking a look at ways to see how we can impact and change for the positive. So make sure, like I said, if you see something that you're definitely saying something to people, notify your local law enforcement. But also remember the most important part, the quickest way to make change inside the community is to start in one's home. If you start in your own home, get the folks in check in your house. You don't necessarily have to rely too heavily on the police department because you're taking care of business on your own. Any luck you having there, Beak? Any luck at all there? Trying to get that in there. So give me 1 second here. Let me find out what's going on here. Okay. I do recall them saying that there was some type of thing going on with the okay, yeah, here it is right here. Community leaders with a debate going on. Let me take a quick peek at that and just kind of see if we can get up to speed on that. Also, like I said, it sounds like there also was a finding in the shooting involved with the federal agents and the young man over in South Minneapolis. There was a finding from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office that indicated that they were not going to go ahead and pursue any charges in the officers involved in that shooting. So they're saying that was a justifiable shoot. So we're not really sure the facts in that area, but we do know that in the situation with Terrence Franklin, as you know, who was involved in the shooting over in the Minneapolis area, where the Minneapolis police investigated that shooting themselves. The BCA had said that they didn't want to investigate it. It had already been investigated by Minneapolis, and they didn't see any new evidence. For those of you guys who don't remember, the Hennepin County Sheriff not a sheriff, but the Hennepin County prosecutor had kicked that information over to the BCA, indicating that he thought there might have been a reason to take a second look at it. So there is a lot of question as to whether or not, channels are being followed properly and that there's transparency. I appreciate that, Beeks, that you're looking into it, bro. This is something I guess we'll have to work on together. But I'm happy to see at least that we up in broadcasting and that you can at least see me. You getting in on Snapchat. So I'm trying to figure out what on the chat could I actually be clicking on, because I'm getting your messages, bro. I'm not able to pull you in on the video. What am I clicking on wrong, or what am I not clicking on? Welcome live chat reminder. Is there something down here that I should be clicking on to pull you in on the video? Or is it one of those deals where you can see me and all you can do is kind of communicate until we get the I think that might be it, because I think what it is until we get those additional 1,000 folks signing in, that we can actually communicate.
Are not 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th graders, from what I can.
I think that's what that is. I think that's what it is, Beeks. I think you can communicate with me via the top chat like you're doing, but I think that we can't live stream folks in until after we get those signatures. So I'm thinking, we'll probably have to be in the same location, unlike we used to, until we can get that rectified. So anyway, guys, let me go ahead and say welcome to Let's Talk About It. In case you didn't know, we're on every Wednesday from 4 to 5. We're working out a few bugs with a new system. Sounds like Beeks is going to have to be in the same studio with me until we can get this other stuff worked out. But we're learning this new system. So those who want to jump on, you can continue to check in the chat box, it looks like, if I'm correct, right, Beeks? And you can send your comments in. I'll respond to them and try and get you some good answers. And Beeks will respond to some of your stuff via chat as of today. And then maybe next week when we're on, we'll be able to respond in person. So let's see what time we're looking at. So it's 4:26 right away. We're already halfway into the show, which is kind of good, I guess. Remember that backpack, guys. Hit you with that backpack one more time. Remember, keep your license and insurance above your visor. Make sure you got it when you walk out the door. Also, folks, I do want to tell you this. Make sure that you're telling your children to be respectful of authority, right? And make sure they're not jumping up in the officers' faces and creating a scene, because remember, these cops are trained to deal with behaviors. And if they have to deal with behaviors first, they never get a chance to actually get to talk to the kid. That's why we're having this conflict. So we don't want to put kids in a situation, or young adults, where they're being accosted by the police because of their inability to follow instructions and the manner in which they're dealing with law enforcement. Like I said, make sure you have those driver's license with you and that insurance in the car above the visor where it's easily accessible, and keeping calm and answering any questions that the cops are asking you about. Make sure you got the license with you when you're walking down the street, or ID, so that if you do stop, you're going to be nice and calm, respond kindly, and get home to your loved ones. So there is some talk in the case of Officer Noor that once he comes back in for his resentencing, that he may only have to serve one more year in prison and then be released due to his case being overturned in the portion that involved, I think it was the third-degree murder charge. So I know you guys got a lot of opinion on that. Like I said, please be patient. Go ahead and type your answers in. I can see them. I know now that you can see me. And that's kind of what we're working with for tonight here on the live stream. The good thing is now we know we're finally over on the YouTube's channel of things, and this will be one of our first views here on YouTube. So you guys will get a great feel for how it could work once you're all signed in. Remember to go to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you register and sign in for the channel. Doing that gives us the ability to go full stream live so that we can interact correctly because we have the 1,000 required signatures. Hopefully by next week, we'll also be back on Facebook Live, which will give a lot of you guys more access to being able to do what we need to do. Let me see. Beak say it will take 24 hours for me to allow to get in. Oh, okay. I see. So maybe I should send out the invites a few days ahead of time since it takes about 24 hours for you to get in. Is that what it is? So maybe that could be what it is too. Anything that you wanted to bring up today, Beaks, while you're in the chat box we could talk about? So let's make sure that we are also, yes, I had to download something. Oh, okay. See, yeah, I get it. Yep, I got it. All right, cool. Well, that makes sense, man. It makes sense. And then in the future, then what we'll do is we'll do those invites 24 hours in advance, or at least 2 days in advance to give people time enough to get clicked in and signed in. So, but make sure you subscribe too, because that is one of our signatures right there. There's one of the subscribers. Make sure you pop in on that too, bro, and subscribe to the channel so that we're knocking those signatures out. That way we get a live feed. And I think there's a few bucks or something involved. Don't worry, my typing sucks too. Yeah. I'm just happy that we can finally get going on the streaming. I'm sure that it'll get better once we start using it a lot more. I like the the setup here though, so I think we'll probably reach a lot more people too. So okay, cool. That's good. And then what I'll do is I'll send out more invites on the book so that people know for sure where we are and what we're trying to get done. Yes, and I concur, Beeks. Just what he said. Thanks to everybody who's jumping on and supporting. Let's talk about it Wednesdays. There's a lot of issues that we want to bring out and talk about. There's so much going on with all the gun violence in the local community and stuff. So there is a lot for us to get done. And I'm sure once we get the live streaming going, we'll be back up and able to have the better conversation in place. So once again, as you know, we're on every Wednesday from 4 to 5, talking about issues in your community. And even though some of you guys aren't from the Minnesota area, a lot of the stuff that we're going through or experiencing in our counties, I'm sure you're experiencing. So don't be afraid to jump on and still talk about what is going on. And then, so the forum that they had yesterday looks like thanks, Beeks. Appreciate that. The forum that went on yesterday with the city of Minneapolis, it looks like it was kind of what's a better term for it? Reverend McAfee was one of the spokespersons, and I'm trying to get this feel for who the young lady was. Let me see here. Computer. Just experiencing some computer things here. Anyway, it sounds like the Minneapolis police are going to be around for a while. I mean, I can't say exactly what the vote's going to come out to be, but I know people realize that they need the police department. So yeah,
Yeah, that's right. They
it was
are. Tier 11 helped commission a new poll conducted by Mason
Jane
Dixon
Bates and Reverend McAfee are the ones who actually spoke
and it found that most
about
voters
what was going
don't
on
want
here.
less police on the streets. They just want a new type of police department.
Sad.
The CARE 11 NPR News Star Tribune Frontline Minnesota poll found that 55% of voters said Minneapolis shouldn't reduce the size of the police force. Black voters feel even stronger about that. 75% said they don't want fewer police officers. The poll took that question a step further and asked about replacing the department altogether with a public safety department. 49% support that change, while 41% don't.
The amendment has a lot of flaws.
So it's pretty much, I don't know if you guys heard that. I'm trying to play a little blurb there from what I could hear. It pretty much sounds like, guys, that the city really doesn't want to get rid of the police department. And I think we all want police reform. I think we all want police reform. Exactly what that looks like, it's still out there. I think that we all want to have police who we feel show the community respect and aren't necessarily harming the community. So I think that we want to have somebody out there that's a professional officer that we can call for help. But at the same time, we want to know that they're going to do everything possible to try and keep us safe. So it's important that we are talking about these issues in the community and how we could do a better job in lieu of what's been going on now. And I think those things that we as a community we want transparency. We want accountability. We would like to have a better police response time. And the people of the city, we support the law enforcement in the community. What we don't support is the lack of information that comes out during the time that something happens. And also, the unnecessary aggressiveness that some of the officers can show up on the scene with. So if we're finding ways to address that, that would be a whole lot better. I think too, what's really important is that if we talk about, what does police reform look like? I would say it would have to look like, officers who are willing to work to utilize discretion or authority and when it comes to arresting people and not arresting people, kind of it's just an arrestable moment or it's just a teachable moment. And more importantly, is there a chance that if slowed down things just long enough, do we have the ability to resolve issues without people necessarily going to jail in a lot of situations? But we cannot lose the sight of the fact that, remember, at this point in time, with the issues of gun violence being the way that they are in the community, the officers are going to have to respond with some kind of aggression or assertiveness, for lack of a better term, in order to get in front of this. But most importantly, what makes that job easier for law enforcement is if the city and its government officials are on board with law enforcement. And you could do that through the management of a few things. We could definitely explain to the citizens that we would need to bring back things like the lurking and loitering laws, which in turn would give police the ability to make contact with individuals in high crime areas that we know are high crime areas where people are being shot and accosted on a regular basis. If we give that authority to them, even if temporarily, to be able to move those people along, then we're going to keep people safe, right? And we just need to explain to people the reasoning behind doing what we're doing. And so it's not rocket science. This information that we're going to be given to law enforcement, or this authority that we're going to be given to law enforcement, just makes it easier to keep people safe so that people don't know that, hey, I can catch this guy on that block because that's where everybody's hanging out and I can do a drive-by shooting. And so it makes it less obvious for people to be victimized, and so in doing things like that, we don't want to be necessarily pulling authority from police. We want to enhance that authority, as long as it's used properly, right? Remember, sometimes stopping a guy in a car for a broken taillight or a missing tab, in history has shown us that's how we've picked up some people who were wanted for murder. So it's not necessarily just stopping people for minor offenses. What it is just making sure that we realize that initially the stop is for a minor offense. And so we don't need to be treating people with the behavior of someone that's wanted on a more serious offense. And we do realize that the traffic stop is one of the most dangerous contacts that police officers make outside of domestics. And it's primarily because when dealing with people on traffic stops, the officer doesn't know what kind of weapons are in the vehicle, if there are weapons on the person. And so you kind of have to treat it with a little bit more concern. Again, given the fact in today's issues that a lot of people are heavily armed with fully automatic weapons. And so we have to make sure that we're maintaining safety for officers. And again, that means that when you're pulled over by the police, that you do your best to stay calm, ask polite questions, try your best to cooperate. Do remember that when the officer asks you to do something, it is a lawful order and you are legally bound to comply with those lawful orders. We're not saying that you can't ask questions to clarify for the reasoning of being stopped. We are saying allow the officer to do his job and don't be so disruptive on the stop that you're kind of obstructing him from being able to explain to you why he stopped you, give you a legitimate reason, and then move on about his business. So these are things that we want to make sure that in the community we're really talking about and we're expressing to the community members to make sure that we are staying calm when dealing with law enforcement. We have to work together to resolve these issues together. Remember, law enforcement can only do so much. This is a community issue, not just a law enforcement issue. We have to work together as a community with law enforcement to identify and solve problems within the community. And so, we know that issues like George Floyd situation with Mr. Derek Chauvin, we understand that those issues are tragic when they do happen, but then we still have to maintain a certain amount of civility on both sides of the ball, both with law enforcement and the community. And so the easiest way to do that is to make sure that we're working every day to be transparent in our actions. If we can work to get videos released whenever possible to clarify what issues have taken place in the community, we'd like to do so. We know we need law enforcement in the community. We definitely need law enforcement in the community, especially with the uptake in crime. We don't necessarily need to reduce the Minneapolis Police Department, but we do need to make sure that the Minneapolis Police Department is being properly trained and directed to utilize professional courtesy when doing the job. And that accounts for the behavior on the side of the citizen too. The citizen has to do their part to be respectful when dealing with law enforcement. Let's all remember that law enforcement officials are people, not robots. And so they also have feelings and emotions, and they're not infallible. They do have the ability to make mistakes and occasionally have some bad judgment. And so unfortunately, in the law enforcement world, the particular career that it is, sometimes when those mistakes are made, it can cost somebody their life. And so that's why we try and work our hardest to make sure that law enforcement have the best possible training and tools they need to do the job on a professional level. So, without preaching to you guys, I'm glad that we're able to get on here and bring up these issues, but this is stuff that we as a community need to be talking about. Most importantly, like I said, we need to also talk about what does our plan look like moving forward to actually fix these issues, because we've done a lot of finger pointing, we've done a lot of calling folks out on the carpet, but more importantly, now that we've identified some of those problem areas, I really also want us to come together as a community to be able to talk about what we can do to fix it. What does that plan look like in place to fix it? And then how we follow through to implement that plan. Because we're going to need a little buy-in from members of the community. We're going to need some buy-in from law enforcement officials. And then we're going to need some buy-in from the legislative officials to include our court system and our prosecution systems, because we want to make sure that, one, folks are getting the proper sentence for these crimes. They're being held properly in custody when officers go through the stress of getting these folks off the street, that they don't end up back on the street hours later after doing the heinous crime, and that the community can begin to feel safe. And more importantly, that we're getting with legislators to bring bills to the table to possibly become laws at the Capitol, so that some of these things that people want to see change can be done. Unfortunately, we didn't get the George Floyd bill through Congress. And as of today, we don't have any laws on the books in the name of George Floyd that would stop anything that we feel is unjustly done. And so I also want to look at groups like Black Lives Matter and say, I'm really happy to have Black Lives Matter out there doing some of the things that they're doing. But at the same time, even though there's a great push for people of color being assaulted or misused when it comes to law enforcement, I don't want us to misunderstand that there's still the importance to push the importance of Black life when it comes to Black on Black crime. And so even though the original foundation of Black Lives Matter is to address disparities when dealing with people of color in law enforcement, I also want to make sure that, leaders of Black Lives Matter understand that we also, should, and I'm saying should because you don't have to, we also should be putting some funding aside for Black on Black crime. I really think we need to put some time, money, and effort to addressing the Black on Black crime in the community, because we do have officer-involved shootings. We do have issues where we deal with people of color being misused and abused by law enforcement in certain situations. But more importantly, we have an even larger problem of Black on Black crime. We're burying more Black people of color every day. And we're seeing that on such a large scale throughout the United States that a lot of the morticians can't even keep up with the body count. And there isn't an outcry in the city for why those guns are into the community. How did those guns get into the community? We have to discuss those issues. Being in law enforcement, we know that the ATF has the ability to track a gun all the way back to its manufacturer. So why are we having such a problem tracking these guns in the community and where it's coming from? Why we can't figure out how these kids are coming in contact with these switches that are turning handguns into fully automatic weapons in the community? And why are we not having more of an outcry for mass shootings in the Black community that we should be having? So these are all issues that we have to address moving forward as a community, right? And that starts, again, like I said, with making sure that we're holding those accountable in our households, because those are your kids. Right, those are your kids running around here shooting other kids. And when you look at what's going on today, they're not shooting strangers in most cases, right? They're shooting people that they know that they have some type of disagreement with. And so it's terrible that we're out here killing somebody is wrong in any fashion for the most part, right? But when you're killing people that you're hanging out with based on minor disagreements because you have a gun accessible, it makes it that much terrible. And then we're impacting two families at the same time, because you have the victim's family who's immediately affected by the loved one being lost. And then you have the person who's doing the accosting family being impacted as well, because they're losing that loved one to the prison system. So we're losing people of color at the same time on both sides of the ball. And then we have to step in and intervene to do something about that. So I would like to see a little bit more in terms of buy-in from Black Lives Matter. I want to see the leadership step up to the ball and not pitch it back and go, well, that's not what we do. We only deal with officer-involved issues. I would like to see Black Lives Matter set some funding aside and some leadership aside to address the issue throughout the United States when it comes to black on black crime. That's something that we have to deal with, right? Because we can't make that a black-white issue when those are people who look just like you that you're accosting in the community. So remember to have that conversation with your kids, parents. If you're finding your 13, 14-year-old with firearms in the household, it's your responsibility as the parent to address that, right? It's your responsibility. That's not a police issue. That is a parenting issue. Now, if it gets to the point where the teen is so out of control that you can't handle it, then you can contact law enforcement and ask for assistance to some degree. But remember, that's your child, and you need to deal with your child. If your child has no respect for you and has no respect for himself, why would he have respect for anybody else in the community? And so you got to start inside the house, then work your way outside the house. And when you do that, you got a community of people who see each other with respect and love for life, and we won't be shooting each other like we're doing on a daily basis. Now, just remember, this is not something that we can't solve. It's not the first time we've had gun violence in the community, so it can be solved, right? But we have to be willing to put forth the effort. Police didn't just start killing young men of color. This has been going on for a long time. We're finally able to see it readily available on social media through the help of cell phones. And so let's identify how we can fix this issue. Let's take it head on, and that's the reason why I'm running for sheriff here in Hennepin County, because I want to address those issues with your help. All right. So we're getting down toward the end of the show here, guys. We got right around 10 minutes left here on the clock. Normally about this time, my co-host Anthijuan Beeks and I would be, giving you a spiel about our background and how you can get in contact with us. Hopefully Beeks will jump in here with that and get on. And Beeks, if you can hear me there, brother, go ahead and text how folks can reach out to you through the contact information. And I'll give you mine real quick. You can reach me at JOELWMAN at hotmail.com. That's JoeLawman@hotmail.com. You can also reach me on Facebook or inbox me. Call me at 763-221-4724, 763-221-4724. And remember, you can go to our website at banksforsheriff.com. That's BANKS, the number 4, sheriff.com. Feel free to jump on. Remember, we're a grassroots campaign, so we could use your donations and your volunteering. $20 donation will get you one of these lovely shirts here that says Banks for Sheriff right there, so you get a good shot at that, guys. So go ahead and jump in. Make sure you're getting your donations in. Remember, we can make those changes with your help and your help alone, because we as a community have to come together to bring that unity. So here we go with the backpack once again before we get up out of here. My name is Joe Banks. I am your host of Let's Talk About It, and this is Let's Talk About It, where we're on the air every week from 4 to 5. 4 to 5 every Wednesday. Make sure you jump in and check us out. We're going to be here on YouTube coming at you live in a few weeks. Those of you who are getting this a little bit later, remember that go to our channel. Make sure you're logging into our channel and subscribing, because we need those 1,000 signatures so you can have better interaction with us. So we need those 1,000 subscribers to go on and subscribe so that you can see us live. We get better interaction besides the chat box. To all of you guys who jumped on or got in here, including my co-host, Mr. Beeks, and were able to type in and chat in, I really appreciate you guys being patient with the new system. And just, joining us on here to see what we're talking about and be a part of our show. This is our first episode here on the show, which is really good. I'm happy to be able to do it. We're trying to work out some kinks. It's a little bit different from live streaming on the book, but needless to say, we're able to get out here and get the word out. Most importantly, like I said, my name's Joe Banks. I'm out of Hennepin County Sheriff. This show gives me ability to be able to reach you, the citizen, to address some of the concerns that you may have in your community. It also allows you to tell me what's going on, meet me, see who I am, get a feel for what my platform is and the changes I intend to bring to Hennepin County and the things that I want to do to keep us all safe so we make tomorrow a better day for everybody. And just like I said, remember, we can't do it without your help. Real quick before we get out of here, because these kids were slain in such a fashion with no one being held accountable in Minneapolis, I do want you guys to take some time out to try and, respond with any information that you have to leading to the arrest of these kids who were shot and killed in Minneapolis. And of course, if you don't know, we've had a lot more children shot since these kids, and we have a lot more shootings. In fact, I think we're a little over 74 shootings in the Minneapolis area. In fact, I was listening to somebody who told me that as of last month, there were over 27,000 bullets had been fired in the city of Minneapolis alone year to date. And that was recorded through the shot spotter. So just let that sink in for a little bit. 27,000 rounds being fired in a city that's not a combat zone around people who are living on a day-to-day basis. There's got to be very horrifying for those community members and those residents in that local area of town. So again, like I said, the number for Crime Stoppers is 1-800-222-8477, 1-800-222-8477, or www.crimestoppers.org, www.crimestoppers.org, or you can go to Minneapolis Violent Crimes with 612-673-2941. Again, 612-673-2941 for any information leading to the apprehension or prosecution of those folks responsible for that shooting. Also, in case you guys didn't know, if your morality doesn't bring you to a conclusion of bringing that information out, there is an additional $185,000 reward leading to information or capture those responsible for those kids being shot in the Minneapolis area. So now that we've gotten that, guys, we're down to 5 minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and hit you with that backpack one more time before we get out of here. Again, thanks to all you guys who tuned in. We'll be back next week from 4 to 5 again on Let's Talk About It Live on Wednesday. So again, make sure you got your driver's license or insurance in your car. Make sure your loved one has a driver's license or insurance in the car. Make sure they keep it above their head and the visor. Make sure it's easily accessible. Stay calm when you get stopped by law enforcement. Answer any questions. Keep your hands where they can be seen. If you're walking down the street, same thing. Make sure you got your license or ID with you. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Don't get upset. Let the officer go through his spiel. Remember, it's a lawful order to abide by what he's saying. Do. And get home to your loved ones very safe and sound without injury. Remember, anything that officer does, we can address on a different day. So, without further ado, again, Beeks, thank you for jumping on here. You guys for joining us. I'm the host and co-host, Anthijuan Beeks, and my name's Joe Banks. We just talked about it. Appreciate you guys jumping on. See you again next Wednesday, and have a good day.